Epstein discussing Jewish purity. He's just like me. Epstein worked with an individual named Masha Drakova, who suggested Epstein should only be working with DNA-tested Jews, as the more Jew you are, the smarter you are. Epstein from the same email reportedly said, wait, this is just what somebody else said? Epstein, like, worked with tons and tons of open eugenicists. Yeah, this was from somebody else. Dog, most super right-wing Jews are Jewish supremacists, in the same way that most super right-wing people of any group are their own group supremacists. It's almost innate to conservatism. People are going to go crazy with the conspiracy here, but like Epstein hung out with tons and tons of white Anglo-Saxons who are white Anglo-Saxon supremacists, you know? Like, are there Jewish supremacists? Yeah, no shit. They like run Israel. What do you want? Obviously. I never assumed Epstein had an actual political motivation behind him. Well, his political motivation was his own power more than anything else. But yeah, for the most part, people are machines of rationalization. People will develop a worldview that gives them permission to do the things that they want to do. If they want to be good to people, they'll rationalize it. If they want to be bad to people, they'll rationalize it. So for the most part, I find that when you're addressing how people think, you have to first address like how they feel. And for people like Epstein, the only thing they care about is power. That's it. Everyone affiliated with Epstein, it's just power. All these people would switch their political positions on a dime if it was like the path to power for them. It's the case with Trump. It's the case with almost any of them. It's actually relatively rare to find political extremists this close to the center of power who are ideologically motivated. A good example might be Miller. I think Miller is ideologically motivated. But Vance? No. A lot of the other people in the admin, not even close. Look at like Tulsi Gabbard, you know, like, okay, yeah. Very principled. And that's why Miller's falling from grace? Yes, to an extent. It makes him less flexible. So if Poll was a psyop from the beginning, was it one that got out of their control? No, Poll has been the greatest gift to Epstein and his associates ever imaginable. All they've done is produce a culture that normalizes and defends pedophilia and right-wing extremism. It's literally been like the greatest thing imaginable for them. Poll wasn't even remotely involved in the release of the Epstein files, because at the end of the day, the people who Poll got elected fought against the release of the files. Kash Patel said there was no evidence Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking minors. Dan Bongino, likewise, and he quit over it because he didn't want to have to keep lying because it was stressful. Went back to his podcast job. Trump, your boy Trump, nonstop defensive, lying, run away from it. All of it. Poll has done nothing but obstruct and distract from the actual Epstein files. If Poll actually wanted the Epstein files released, or I'm sorry, I guess what I should say is, if Poll as a political entity was consistent in this, then they wouldn't have elected Trump, the guy who everyone knows has been affiliated with Epstein since before the first time he got elected president. We already knew he was friends with Epstein. They were publicly friends in the 90s. The idea that Poll has been like this like deep provocateur that defied the will of the Jewish overlords that created them and has actually sown the seeds of their downfall is unbelievable, Cope. Holy shit, like you'd have to be insane to think that. But I know that's the narrative they're going with. They're like, no. Electing the best friend of Epstein and electing a ton of people who are rampantly defending Epstein and blocking the release of the files, all of that was part of our long-term plan. Come on. They don't care in Poll. They post how Jeffrey Epstein's based. Yeah, of course, because they're pedophiles and he's a pedophile. They don't believe in anything. They're just lonely, aspirational young men who idealize the concept of having power. These are like literally the dredges of society. They're like scum on the bottom of the ocean. They don't have to be that way. They could like go outside and talk to people, but they choose to be that way to a large extent. So they idealize somebody who they perceive to be powerful, wealthy, and socially aspirational, which, to be fair, Jeffrey Epstein is all those things. He was powerful, was wealthy, and was obviously a social butterfly. Can't really fault him, you know, on those grounds. He definitely talked to a lot of people. So they idealize him because the alternative would be to admit that their entire movement has been a psyop by a literal Jewish supremacist mogul who controls the deep state. You know, it's pretty much you idealize Jeffrey Epstein or you acknowledge that you have been played for the biggest fool in the universe. He's literally the guy. He's the guy. He's an ideal of a frat boy. Oh, Jeffrey Epstein's 100% a frat boy. Easily. Yeah. Like archetypally. So fell for it harder than anyone who's ever lived. Can we get his face off screen, please? I'm really sorry, but you're going to be hearing about him and seeing him for the rest of your life. He's friends with every single powerful person. Even the people who didn't know him, like Joe Biden, we assume, did nothing to stop him. He is kind of doing a cat face. You know who he looks like here? Gandolfini. Doesn't he have a little little bit of a Tony. He does the cat smile. Tony does the cat smile, like Caitlin Collins does, you know, where they have the like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the entire media circuit in the UK right now is talking about how Prince Andrew has some real bad photos in this new drop. Oh yeah. I've heard about them. He tried to become friends with a former Australian PM, but the PM refused. That's nice. So wait, he talked back and forth with Epstein. What evidence is there that he like refused Epstein? Do not show any direct contact between Dr. Rudd and Epstein. Others indicate there were attempts by mutual acquaintances of Jeffrey Epstein to introduce him to Dr. Rudd. Okay, so it looks like they were trying to make the connection, but didn't. Oh, the Duke of York is Prince Andrew's title? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I think I remember hearing that. Sorry, I'm not really familiar with like British royal business. Okay, gotcha. So it's all Andrew. Okay, gotcha. Didn't he lose his title? Well, he had it in the emails. Has anyone picked up the torch after Epstein died? In the files, there is at least one survivor who says the financial network that Jeffrey Epstein created and sustained is still being funded to this day. So yeah, probably. This whole thing is just international capital. There's no way international capital stopped doing this just because one guy died in prison. It's going on right now. They're probably keeping it a little bit more quiet, though, given all the, scrutiny. Let's see how mainstream news is discussing this.
More than 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, and 180,000 images. CNN teams are carefully sifting through the largest, and what the Justice Department says is the last, batch of Jeffrey Epstein files. It's an enormous trove of documents, and it includes references to some of the richest and most powerful people on the planet. That includes the current president, a former president, cabinet secretaries, a former prime minister, billionaires, and the list goes on and on and on. The Justice Department says tonight that its job is done.
We complied with the statute, we complied with the act, and there is no... we did not protect President Trump. We didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents.
It took forever to load for me.
I should note that just because someone is mentioned in these documents does not mean that they've been accused of wrongdoing or did anything.
Of course, the people that we just listed as having been mentioned in the files were all like implicated in them to varying extents. They were not just mentioned, they were friends of Epstein.
Wrong. Many of these claims are unverified or they rely on secondhand information. But these are the key findings our team has uncovered so far, and I should note, millions of pages have come out.
Has Kash Patel said anything? Considering the fact that Kash Patel's official position on all of this is that there is no evidence Jeffrey Epstein trafficked minors, and there are no Epstein files, both things that he's said on the record under oath, he's probably just staying quiet for the most part.
We are still digging right now in this hour. Donald Trump's name appears thousands of times in these new documents. In some, he's merely mentioned in emails that Jeffrey Epstein sent to other people. But the files also contain a complaint from a woman who accused Trump of raping her in 1994 when she was just 13 years old. According to the FBI document, this accuser, who is identified as Jane Doe, said that Jeffrey Epstein was, quote, angry that Trump was the one to take her virginity and that she was also raped by Jeffrey Epstein. This woman had previously launched lawsuits against Trump and dropped them. The last one happened right before the 2016 election. The president has
Why'd she drop them?
Previously denied these allegations. Also included in today's release was a list of sexual assault allegations related to the president compiled by the FBI in August, many of which appear to have come from unverified tips. We don't know why tonight the FBI made this list, and there are more than a dozen allegations that are included in it. But recall what the president has previously said.
By the way, how are Trump supporters trying to spin this? For the most part, they're just ignoring it. The official position of the MAGA movement is that none of this happened, and if it did, pedophilia is good, actually. Like unironically, that's where they're at. It is a death cult. They believe in nothing besides collective suicide. Again, it's like that Penguin video that I'll talk about at one of these points, by which I mean I'm just going to replay the Dan Olson video. It's like they don't really care because this is all just another blip on the road to mass suicide. So whatever.
About these documents, about the Jeffrey Epstein files. He said that they are a hoax and that the release of them could ruin people's reputations.
I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him.
I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it.
Just to be clear, Christopher Wray was the president's pick for FBI director that he put into that job. This also comes as we're learning for the first time about Jeffrey Epstein's contact with Elon Musk. You may remember Elon Musk dropped what he described as a really big bomb last year. He said Trump was in the Epstein files, and that was the real reason that they had not been made public. Well, it turns out, based on what we saw today, Musk is also in the Epstein files.
Very good messaging to accuse the Democrats of orchestrating the release of the files. Yeah, but man, wouldn't it have been cool if the Democrats had actually pushed for the release of the files? I mean meaningfully. Not as this like desperate, half-assed, last-second, post-Trump winning in 2024 effort, but more of a like, as soon as Biden wins, he prosecutes Trump for treason, and then also as a fun little drop, puts out the Epstein files, and then presumably puts Larry Summers and everyone else affiliated with Epstein in a deep, deep hole in the ground. Serious question, why can any of these pedos be sent to jail because of this statute of limitation? I'm not sure what you mean. The reason they can't be sent to jail is because they're powerful, and nobody will open investigations against them. That's it.
Emails show that he tried coordinating multiple visits to Jeffrey Epstein's private island. In one from 2013, Elon Musk asked Jeffrey Epstein, "When should we head to your island?"
I'm not voting for any president in 2028 who does not promise to spend an enormous amount of money sending U.S. carrier fleets over to the seas outside of Little St. James and shelling it until there is no island left. I want to know exactly how many Tomahawk missiles it would take to vaporize the island and reduce its entire mass to a sizzling, broiling, brackish, murky, undersea dune. You know, I want to know exactly. I know we can do it. I know we have the money.
2013, Elon Musk asked Jeffrey Epstein, "When should we head to your island?" The year before, he said, "What day night would be the wildest party on your island?" Now, this is after Musk claimed, in all caps, I should note, last year that, quote, "Epstein tried to get me to go to his island, and I refused." Musk's representatives did not immediately respond to CNN's request for comment for explanation for those emails and that contact. And speaking of distancing and denials, recall what President Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said just last year about a 2005 encounter that he had with Epstein at his Manhattan townhouse.
I say to him, "Massage table in the middle of your house? How often you have a massage?" And he says, "Every day." And then he gets weirdly close to me. Ooh. And he says, "And the right kind of massage." And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Okay, so that was 2005. The files released today showed that Howard Lutnick tried to meet or call with Epstein several times after 2005, much longer.
There will be no consequences. Oh, I saw this on my feed, by the way. I thought this one was pretty funny. From Jeffrey Epstein, "Where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video." In response, "I am in China. I will be in the United States on the 2nd week of May." And coincidentally, on the 25th of April, 2009, you'll never guess who was in China. I legitimately don't know if that's who it is because the information is redacted, but it's not like it would be that out of pale compared to, I mean, why not, right? Why not?
Longer after. A 2011 email to Jeffrey Epstein from his assistant reads, "Howard Lutnick will come see you at 5 p.m. That same year, the heading of an alarm message reads, "Drinks with Howard Lutnick." And Lutnick also emailed Jeffrey Epstein's assistant in 2015, inviting Epstein to a Democratic fundraiser for Hillary Clinton that he was hosting. Asked for comment on these emails and the correspondence between the two, a spokesperson for the Commerce Department told
Isn't
CNN,
it crazy that the 2016 presidential election was a battle between two people who had touched tips inside of a child? How the it's such a pantomime. It's all like a big show they're putting on for the rest of us. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and they're both debating each other, and internally they're both like, well, it doesn't really matter. We've both been to the island. Like, who gives a It's insane.
And Secretary Lutnick had limited interactions with Mr. Epstein in the presence of his wife and has never been accused of wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the victims of Epstein have expressed frustration with the entire
I think being friends with Epstein is a kind of wrongdoing itself,
process. I want to give you the opportunity to speak directly to them.
Well, I don't know what you're speaking to. I mean, if there's frustration with, quote, the entire process, same here. I mean, you have a situation where for many, many years, nobody even breathed a word about Jeffrey Epstein, and then all of a sudden it was all anybody would talk about. Listen, victims of Mr. Epstein have gone through...
Less visual descriptions. I think that nausea is the correct emotion for you guys to feel. I'm really sorry, but like everyone who controls our lives is a pedophile who rapes and tortures children. I don't know what you want. Like, it's... like, the nausea is the correct feeling. It's not just the people who have been to the island, it's the thousands and thousands of people in power who are like, do you have any idea how many people in the FBI and DOJ between like 2000 and 2025 needed to have deliberately kept the lid on this? A lot of stuff was sealed until 2024, but there was still tons of information to work with. They left all of this. They just sat in it for ages and ages and ages and ages and ages. All those people.
Unspeakable pain. And there's nobody that should say anything differently. I hope that the work that the men and women within this department have done over the past 2 months hopefully is able to bring closure.
And tonight we are hearing directly from Jeffrey Epstein's survivors who are
got a whiplash there for a second. We're hearing directly from Jeffrey Epstein. We have a paranormal expert here channeling his spirit from beyond. Oh,
angry. Some of them frustrated that their names showed up unredacted in the files that came out today, despite what we heard from the Justice Department about a pledge to prioritize their privacy. More than a dozen of the survivors issued a new joint statement. It reads in part, this latest release of Jeffrey Epstein files is being sold as transparency, but what it actually does is expose survivors. Once again, survivors are having their names and identifying information exposed, while the men who abused us remain hidden and protected. That is outrageous. As survivors, we should never be the ones named, scrutinized, and re-traumatized, while Epstein's enablers continue to benefit from secrecy. This is a betrayal of the very people this process is supposed to serve.
Trump copied his gaudy home decor from Epstein? Yeah. Oh, yeah. This has been known for a while. Mar-a-Lago and Little St. James are modeled after each other to a large extent. This, like, gaudy, degenerate, bohemian, gold everywhere, marble, every material has to be the most expensive looking material. There's no such thing as, like, feng shui or like, cohesion or whatever. Yeah, you see it in Little St. James, you see it in the White House, and you see it in Mar-a-Lago. It's the pedophile aesthetic. It's the visual. The future historians will refer to it as such, okay? It's extremely ugly.
One of the Epstein survivors who signed that statement is Jess Michaels, who says she was sexually assaulted by Jeffrey Epstein when she was 22 years old. And Jess joins me now. And thank you for being here on a day like today. We've spoken with many of the survivors on this show before, and I know it's not an easy conversation to have. So I really do appreciate you joining us. When you heard the Deputy Attorney General today talking about closure, is that what you feel after this release?
Firstly, thank you so much, Caitlin, not only for having me on, but for continually having Epstein survivors on so that our voices are heard. There is not a single bit of closure today. I actually brought a little show and tell for you, Caitlin. Oh. You know how I heard you speaking with the attorney before this about the 302s, and this is what the only 302 that could be found so far in the files by someone that was combing the files for hours. It was 7 pages and 4 of them looked like this. So we know that the victim's name is here.
Dude, the fact that we've seen as much as we've seen and they're still censoring stuff like this, we have no idea. There is no one on earth who is cynical enough to even begin to grasp at what remains in these files, what is still censored and what in the 80% that is yet to be released. No human being alive is capable of the cynicism that you would need to predict what is in those files. You could it's mentally damaging to even try to approximate it.
Right, and that's appropriately redacted. So what is all of this? So there's no way for me to say to you that there's closure here. This is the exact opposite of transparency.
I mean, it must be so frustrating for you to look at that and to see just completely blacked out in the entire page.
And then we've seen pages where they're blacked out and the only thing not blacked out was a survivor's name. It is such incompetence. It is sloppy. I mean, if any one of us did our jobs the way the DOJ did this job, we wouldn't be working humans. We would lose.
Well, you'd be in jail because they're in violation of the law.
Lose our job. We would lose our place in a company because this particular job has been so egregiously done, horrifically done.
If you had been at that press conference today at the Justice Department, what do you think you would have asked?
I would have asked, then what's this? What is...
The pause was because she was reflecting on whether or not it would be a good idea for her to describe, like, attacking them on national news.
Missing from this page, because one of the things that he said was about the fact that there's no list of men, there's no treasure trove of men. Then what is this? What is missing here? This is not a survivor's name. There's no survivor's name that is this long. So what I'd like to ask any of them in the Department of Justice is, what is this? This is a victim statement. The only thing that was supposed to be redacted was her name. So this is clearly protecting someone, something.
We'll see. People aren't even done crawling through the files that were released the other day. They're gonna just stop covering this shit, man. The deep state does not want people focusing on this. Look at how far down you have to scroll on the front page of the New York Times before you find it. Federal judge denies request to temporarily block ICE surge in Minnesota. Great. Bovina is said to have mocked prosecutors' Jewish faith on call with lawyers. Minnesota School District guards against ICE. ICE. Mayor Jacob Frey. Minneapolis residents, Chicago orders police. Trump's choice for Fed chair has tough job ahead. It's not the first time. Hawkish Fed chair. New trade on Wall Street top economists. Here we go. Down here. The powerful men who turn up in the latest batch of Epstein files. Elon Musk, Sergey Brin, and President Trump were among those who exchanged messages or visited with Jeffrey Epstein, according to newly released documents. You'll notice that when the media describes this, all they ever talk about is whether or not people were mentioned or whether they met with Epstein. They never, ever talk about the dozens and hundreds of pages of detailed accusations from multiple witnesses talking about how they raped or killed people, which are all there, by the way. It's very, very interesting stuff. They're mentioned in the files. And we must remind you that merely being mentioned in the files does not constitute wrongdoing. Just ignore all of these witness testimonies. At least it's the front page in AP. Yeah, well, the Associated Press is probably less controlled by Israel than the New York Times is. Though they also don't talk at length about how horrific the shit in there is. But for every credible accusation, there's a dozen BS tip line spam. How do you know that? There are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of tips and reports from many, many people implicating the same guys over and over and over again for rape and child murder and so on. How do you know those aren't credible? Like, how else? These are from interviews with the FBI. You think that like random people are just randomly implicating themselves by getting interrogated by the FBI to levy accusations at the most powerful men in the world? Me, when I'm bored, like I'm gonna go down to the New York State FBI prosecutor's office and provide a bunch of information that I know will get back to Jeffrey Epstein and possibly end my life in the future. Like all the, like how are these not credible? Like we all know that they did child trafficking. Why would we ever assume any of these accusations aren't credible? What's going to happen with the fact that the Trump admin missed the deadline? Nothing. Do you think we'll have a candidate in 28 that will have a spine and be qualified for us? No. But, you know, fun to believe. I agree that it's presumptuous to assume they're not credible, but are there not any anonymous tips? Are they all interrogated? Sure, but I'll believe any anonymous tip against Trump or Epstein. Like, why wouldn't I? What benefit of the doubt should I afford the people who we know are child sex trafficking pedophiles? You know what I mean? Like, what I get, like, it. Listen, okay? If you like ran the, you know, this isn't like a cafeteria schoolyard rumor situation where you hear that somebody pooped their pants in homeroom and you want to verify the information before you start calling them poop pants Summers or whatever. You know, you want to. I feel like we don't have to give them a benefit of the doubt. We can just assume everything said against them is true. It's not a crime. Well, both happen, Superluminous. There are tips, and then there are lots of interviews. They have literally lied about every other thing. Yeah, that's true. They've never not lied about anything. So, to be clear, I completely agree half these fake tips probably describe details that actually happened, but it's filler in the massive documents that make it harder to find actual evidence. Your priorities are all wrong, my friend. Evidence is only relevant in criminal cases, right? It's something that police have to sort through prosecutors. No one's prosecuting them. They're all above the law. This isn't a matter of like what the best prosecutorial evidence is, because nobody will ever prosecute these men. This is entirely about public opinion. And as long as we're dealing in public opinion, I choose to believe everything said about them, because there is no reason not to. Literally none. They have given us no reason. They have indulged in every vice you can possibly indulge in, willfully, happily, for decades, with complete cover from the international press and government. Like, there's no reason to ever assume anything good about them. I'd believe anything. You should too. Why they choose to release these now? Well, there was a vote in the House, a discharge petition. Why are they releasing it all, though? I don't know. Ask them. Okay, maybe I will. Good, do it. Epstein bought off the governor of the VI, which is who killed the initial investigation. Governor of the VI? You mean of Virginia? Oh, of Virgin Islands. Oh. Informant claimed Epstein used a dark money group to wire $380,000 to the 2018 campaign of Albert Bryan, now the sitting governor of the Virgin Islands. Bryan is the governor who fired the local attorney general, leading Epstein-related investigations. Damn, that was easy. Less than $500,000 and you get to get rid of the guy investigating you. VA is Virginia, dumbass. You are completely correct. You know what's nice? If nothing else, I am happy about the fact that the entire right wing is shut up. Like, if you look at social media right now, Twitter, YouTube, whatever else, every right-wing grifter right now is basically just like biding their time. Like, they all know they're pedophiles. They all love fucking kids, every one of them. But they're all just like, this is a really tough, like, news cycle to speak up in, you know? We're just gonna get ratioed. So, gonna stay quiet for a bit. They're waiting for the official narrative. No. There is no official narrative that's going to save them here. At the end of the day, you can only go so far in ignoring reality, right? There are always long-term consequences. It does eventually come back to bite you. Like an eerie, quiet, unsettling. They're like literally all of them have shut the fuck up. On my feed, on both of my Twitter accounts, I have not seen any conservative buzz. I know they're posting, don't get me wrong, but the momentum is overwhelmingly on our side. They're aware of the fact that this is a bad time to talk. r/conservative as well, that subreddit has like 5 people. Reddit has always been lib-coded. They don't want to be this guy right now.
There's no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay.
Brilliant stuff. And now he's quiet. Let me take a look at his account. 1 second. Charlie Kirk is especially quiet weird. No kidding. Incredible. 30 minutes ago, with Trump's leadership and Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche's, the FBI has initiated a full-scale nationwide takedown of child predators and their networks. Guys, look, we're doing something. You wouldn't ratio me in a post where I said that we're doing an unrelated child protection scheme, would you? You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?
One of the things that we are doing is highlighting the work we've done to
Holy, I can never get over how coked out he is 24/7. Look at him.
Protect our
Jesus Christ.
Children. Just this past year alone under President Trump's leadership, we have found and identified 6,000 missing kids. That's up 22%. We have arrested, the FBI, 1,700 child predators. That's up 10%. And the following is maybe some of the most impressive work the FBI is doing. You are very familiar.
They both look insane. This would be an incredible video to show somebody who was tripping on shrooms. They would kill themselves. Look at these two.
With the nihilistic, violent extremist community online, preying on our kids, forcing them to maim and mutilate themselves, and even sometimes commit...
maim and mutilate themselves. Oh, they mean they mean like, if you've posted online and you've been like, trans people are real or whatever, they mean that. That's what they mean. Gotcha.
Suicide. We are up 490% in the number of FBI arrests for the NVE community, and specifically that 764 network that targets our children. We're up over 30% in arrests related to the 764 network. Wow. And the credit goes to the interagency and the men and women in the FBI working together.
I probably don't need to tell you guys this, but he's lying. Actually, FBI productivity is down across the board because so many of them have been pulled for stuff specifically relating to the federal crackdown and also to the Epstein files. It's just making it up. What is the 764 network? I don't know. They've created a bunch of new internal designations that they can use to like boost their metrics. FBI productivity is down. Let's see. What else do we have? Retweet from the Epoch Times, anti-Chinese government cult from the Falun Gong. Retweet from January 26. Retweet of another person praising him. Another post from his Fox News interview. retweet of Sean Hannity. And then here, 19 hours ago, gang operations, not mentioning the FBI documents at all. Or maybe a little bit further down. Here we go. He's retweeting Rapid Response 47 on the subject. And that's it. Yep, looks like it. Keeping your damn head down.